Ladies and gentlemen, this is the JLove Podcast with your boy JLove. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now in the NFL offseason. We just got past the Super Bowl. We all saw the Eagles totally dominate the Kansas City Chiefs. I thought the Eagles were the best team in the league from week 9 on. They were able to run the ball better than anyone. They had the best line of scrimmage in all of football, offensive line and defensive line. Two high-level young corners, a great support system throughout the entire the entire franchise. That's what winning franchises do. They continue to hit in free agency with Zach Bond coming in out of nowhere with a 1-year prove it deal with the Eagles to become an all-pro middle linebacker. They just hit on everything, and it was just a onslaught avalanche on the Kansas City Chiefs. Salute to the Eagles for winning the Super Bowl, and now we are officially in off-season mode in the NFL. I look forward to looking at a lot of film on some of these draft prospects coming out. On the pod, we're going to talk about a lot of them, specifically quarterback, because my Raiders, yeah, they're in the mix for another franchise quarterback that they need in the building. They haven't had one since Derek Carr. Derek Carr was he was great. He was great. Never had any playoff wins. The Raiders need a franchise quarterback, and hopefully, they get one here shortly. I'm not saying that they'll get one for sure this year. I just know that they're going to be in the mix. We'll talk about that a little later. We'll also, being as how it's the off season, we'll get into a lot of NBA chatter. It's All-Star weekend here in the EA area. We got the All-Star weekend coming up. We got of course, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Not too thrilled with how they formatted that game. Um, I don't know. I don't know how it's going to play out. When I was a kid, we had East versus West. Me and my brothers, we used to play NBA Live. And I remember the West my brothers would have the West because of Kobe. They were Lakers fans. I was a massive 76ers Allen Iverson fan. So we would always rock East versus West on the game. And to see it how it is now, it's very concerning. I don't think a lot of people like it. I think the NBA thinks that it's good, which is good for them. But I think there's something to say about that East versus West rivalry and how a lot of times people would take that stuff seriously, especially if, when we had Kobe versus LeBron and both of them were on opposite coasts. We were waiting for those guys to finally get it on in the finals, and it never came to be. So it'd be awesome to see eventually those guys or the stars on both sides of the coin. We may never get Tatum versus SGA in a finals game. We may never get Anthony Davis versus, take your pick on, some of these young guys and Giannis and some of these cats. So it's good. It's great for the league to see East versus West. I'm not thrilled with how they're doing it, but hey, it's in the Bay Area. I'm gonna head out that way this weekend, check out, some local eateries, some local bars, try to see what's up. Um, but other than that, uh, I'm not really thrilled with anything going on. I'm not really thrilled with the dunk competition this year. Not really thrilled with the 3-point contest. The league is in a weird spot right now because all the mega stars are a little on the older side, 35, 36, 37. Not saying that's old in any way, shape, or form, but in professional sports, that's a little up there. And when you're talking about, Kevin Durant, 36, LeBron is 40 basically, Steph Curry closer to his 40s. You start looking at what's left in the league, and you got a lot of Jason Tatums, Jalen Browns. You got some young guys like SGA out there. Luca's now with the Lakers. We'll see how that looks at the end of the year. But it's in a weird transitional period. And I remember, we went from Jordan to the Spurs to the Pistons, and then we finally got a Kobe team that was strong enough to get there themselves. Obviously, the Lakers were a sensational team, not to skip on them. But I guess what I'm trying to say is the league has always been built on that one particular star. Shaq was a big man, so he didn't really I mean, he's well known, but not really looked at like a Michael Jordan, and so to see the league as it is now, where it doesn't have that, you know, emphatic superstar that's on the cusp of a world title. Jason Tatum is a really talented superstar player. And we're gonna see how he transcends into that role of being that player for the league, because last year they did win the championship, the Celtics, that is. And so you hope that they can potentially get there again and keep this league going and hot and exciting for the young fans. A lot of older fans, though, they see the young talent that's in the league, and they don't see that LeBron James, they don't see that Kobe Bryant, they don't see any of that star attraction. Anthony Edwards is on his way. I don't know if that team is good enough to win, but I do know he is a phenomenal talent, and you have to put him in the mix as being one of those top tier players. Wembanyama is another one. Victor Wembanyama from the San Antonio Spurs. He's another one of those players that you can put in that category of young top tier talent that could, get to that level of being the face of the league. But in reality, the league doesn't have that. Um, and so it'll be very interesting to see how the league looks, especially after the draft, where we get, a lot of these young up and coming talents that are going to come in and very excited about what the NBA looks like for the future. But, for right now, we got the All-Star break. We got no football this week. Baseball's coming up. So it'll be very interesting to see where those sports go next. Last year, the last couple of years with baseball, I can tell you firsthand off of going to a lot of games, that pitch clock has really made baseball watchable again. And now you're seeing them add superstars. The Pirates got some superstar players. um, it's exciting times for baseball. You see record crowds now for a lot of these games. A lot of people now kind of working their work schedule around games again. I can speak firsthand for the Giants. My team, of course, the Philadelphia Phillies. Going to see them, you got to take a day off, basically. You got to take a half day to go see them. um, it's one of those things where I think now people are starting to get excited about baseball again. The last couple of years, we've had some hit or miss seasons, but I think last year really hit it out of the ballpark. You see the record ratings for the World Series. Obviously, it doesn't hurt to have the Yankees versus the Dodgers, but the Phillies are bringing it back and trying to go for another title. The Mets have inserted a lot of money and resources into their team. So when you look at the landscape of baseball, the major markets are the ones that are able to kind of control the league now. And that's kind of what you want, right? You want the Dodgers, Phillies, some kind of New York team, maybe a mid-America team, some Ohio, Cleveland's really good. Those are the kind of teams that you want to have, in baseball, and also with the the Field of Dreams games that they're doing now, really bringing exciting things to the game. So I'll be very interested to see moving forward. Obviously, we don't have football. We got the draft coming up, but with that being said, it'll be very interesting to see what these other sports bring to the table now that they're in the forefront of, uh, they're no longer in the shadow of the NFL. Even in combat sports right now, you see kind of a change of the guard a little bit in MMA and boxing and professional wrestling. You're seeing a lot of that change of the guard, trying to get new stars, trying to build and develop because this is the time to do it. We saw the young guy out of the middleweight division knocking out Izzy in the second round and on national television. This fight was exclusively free for everyone to watch. If you're a big time MMA fan, you watched a star kind of be born, and obviously Izzy, felt lost with grace, really put over the next group of guys. But even when he fought Duplessis, who's now Dracus Duplessis, who's the current MMA or UFC middleweight champion. You see a lot of what he was able to do against Izzy and how he's able to use that against his opponents now. We saw him against Sean Strickland this past weekend and how he was able to just dominate that fight all the way through, break his nose, really kick him, chop him down from the bottom up. And so you like to see that. Obviously, Izzy doesn't want to be a gatekeeper, so he definitely wants to put some wins up there. But to lose to some of these young, superstar, talented fighters, I think it's great for the sport. I think it's great for the UFC because now you have guys with big wins on their belt. More people get more money. Everybody is able to eat. I think that's fabulous for the sport. And especially the reason why I keep saying the sport is because now with the PFL, with the Global Fight League that's coming out here pretty soon with all the older fighters, sure, but they're also very experienced and very talented. So MMA is doing really well. I think the early or late spring, early summer is where I think you're going to start seeing MMA really take over the sports landscape, in terms of trying to create massive fights because I think we're missing that right now is the element of, man, I can't wait until they fight, and you don't really get that out of MMA or boxing right now. So it'll be very intriguing to see some of these major fights being put together. And the hope is you can get them done now before becomes September, October, and you're getting into the football months, and you fall into that shadow of the NFL and college football. So yeah, I think they're doing the right things. I think they're trying to build stars. I think they're creating stars. And on that topic of creating stars, you're also seeing it in professional wrestling with the WWE seeing main event Jey Uso win the Royal Rumble. You're seeing the WWE using his past story to create a new story in the sense of now he's on his own. Now he's his own man. Now he's going after a guy after last night's uh situation and on Raw, you're seeing Jey Uso now having to sort of this get his decision decided for him that he's going after Gunther for the World Heavyweight title in the main event of WrestleMania. This is a guy that organically has gotten over on the fans. I don't listen and pay attention to anything that the internet says. I go with what I see. What I'm seeing is an entire arena packed to the brim, screaming out yeet, doing the arms, and that's the kind of thing that you want as your world champion. There's a lot of other companies that look at matches and work rate as a way to get over your talent. That does not work. In today's atmosphere, the only way to get over is to be seen on television and organically get the fans behind you. There's no rhyme or reason on how it gets done, but once it gets done, you see it and you will never lose it as long as your booking is giving you that opportunity to connect with the fans little by little every time you're on the screen. And we're seeing that. We're seeing that at a high level in WWE right now on the road to WrestleMania. It's going to be very fascinating to see how that looks. Obviously, we got the Elimination Chamber coming up in a few weeks. The winner of the Elimination Chamber, as of right now, for the men's chamber, will meet Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania. Very interested to see how that card, the WrestleMania card, kind of figures itself out. We've seen a lot of face-offs. We've seen a lot of guys beat up other guys to try to throw off the scent on what WrestleMania is going to look like. So, very exciting times right now in sports. And I guess you can say, right, as a guy that's a big time football guy, it does hurt that you no longer have football, but there's so much to enjoy out there. Again, with baseball coming up strong, spring training here coming up here shortly in a few weeks. Basketball, this is basketball season right now with the NCAA tournament. Again, there's a lot of great talent in college football or college basketball right now. So that's going to be exciting to watch who gets into the NCAA tournament, who wins the NCAA tournament, because it ain't for sure you see a UConn wins it this year. So it's going to be very interesting to see that. The NBA playoffs are going to come up here very quickly. Some teams are battling position. In terms of, we saw last night with Luka Doncic, LeBron James, that's going to look incredible all season long. They don't have to worry about defense because they're playing fast and tempo style, allowing their guards to kind of be able to facilitate, and they just have a lot of ball handlers. I don't know if that's something that people really understand about this team, but when you have a lot of ball handlers and guys who can play off the ball, it's a very rare thing to find in today's league. And you could just look at their squad yesterday. They were playing fast, up tempo. They still played really well defensively. And Luca just has to pick spots. He no longer has to drop 50 for them to win games with LeBron and Reeves and Hashimura. It's just, there's just so much firepower on that team. I look for them to really take it to the next level here. Hopefully they can find a big in the atmosphere of free agency. But I like what they have right now, and as long as they don't have to play the Nuggets in the playoffs, I think the Lakers are one of the really strong teams in the West, and I actually like them better than Oklahoma City, who is the one seed, and to me have the MVP of the league currently on their squad. I just look at that team and I don't trust that they have a guy that's on the same level as LeBron, on the same level as Luca, on the same level as Reeves. I just don't see it. And so it's going to be very fascinating to see. I thought Dallas, to be 100% honest, before the injury, I thought Dallas got a great find in Anthony Davis to play, especially at the four spot, because you saw it when he was, I think he had 20 and 10 at the half or after the first quarter or something like that. He was just dominant. And of course, he gets injured, probably going to be out for a month. But we've seen Dallas kind of rally like this before. We saw it last season. We saw it during the year when Luca was out since Christmas. I know I'm kind of all in different topics, but I guess what I'm trying to say is I love the fact that we're in a point now where we can look at this trade between Luca and Anthony Davis and the rest of it. We don't have to get into it. I think those two got onto teams that you can look back. We can look back here maybe a month or two from now and say both teams got what they wanted. And so I'm excited to see Anthony Davis come back at the beginning of March. Hopefully, the Dallas Mavericks can hold fort. It looks like they can. They have enough firepower on the perimeter. Hopefully, Gafford's not injured too severely. But as long as they have some of that core shooting, the Dinwiddie, Kyrie, and Klay Thompson, that's a lot of firepower to not win games. Of course, defensively they might struggle, but offensively, if you put Anthony Davis around that kind of shooting, I mean, I don't know how you stop him. And that goes for everybody. That includes the Lakers. So very excited to see these teams kind of blossom and gel. And Max Christie, do not forget about Max Christie, how he was involved in this deal. He has looked every part of what he's supposed to be. Very lean and lanky 3 and D player that Dallas can use to play, hit threes. He doesn't ball. He can handle the ball, but he's not asked to do that. Really love what Dallas is doing. Really love what LA did. And the hope is that both teams get in the playoffs and we could potentially see these two fight for the West. In my opinion, I love these two teams better than Oklahoma City. I don't trust Chet Holmgren to become a Embiid, Jokic, Wembanyama type of center. I just don't see it. We'll find out. Maybe he comes and blossoms into that these playoffs, but I personally don't see that. And the role players that they have, Jalen Williams, some of these other guys, I just don't see those guys blossoming into superstar players. And when you look at Dallas, how they have Kyrie, Clay, Anthony Davis, the whole supporting cast. We just saw it last year in the playoffs. Though they went to 5 or 6 games, I believe, and the 2 games that they won, SGA had to drop 50 for them to win. It's an insane game for him. But he's a one-man band at times. When the game gets close and tight, it really becomes a one-man band. And I thought the Thunder should have probably made a move. If this trade was available, I would have probably traded 4 or 5 first round picks and just said you can have whatever you want except for SGA, and that includes Chet Holmgren. But that's not what Oklahoma City did. They want the picks, which is understandable. But yeah, it's going to be a very interesting playoff. So I'm excited to watch that. I'm excited to enjoy this time off, lose a little bit of weight, get really good shape, and be ready for the fall season of the new year of the NFL. It's going to be an exciting off season for the NFL. Exciting times. Looking forward to breaking down a lot more of the draft. The NFL draft here coming up. We got the combine at the end of the month, so that's going to be exciting. So yeah, it's a really good time for these other sports to kind of show their muscle a little bit. Maybe not so much baseball, but definitely basketball, college basketball, and getting ready for the combine. So on that note, this was the J Love podcast. I look forward to seeing you guys next week. Deuces.